Okay, good morning once again. This class we are going to discuss about the remaining concepts of bacteriophage vectors. In the previous class, I discussed about what are the different phases of bacteriophage life cycle, like lytic cycle, lysogenic cycle, and how the lytic phase of bacteriophages are used as DNA cloning vectors. We discussed that the left arm, right arm, the essential genes required for lytic phase of virus are present, whereas the central region is not essential for its life cycle. So the central region can be replaced with the any sequence of interest or foreign DNA, and it can be used for cloning. When you do cloning, you digest the bacteriophage DNA with the appropriate restriction enzyme and purify the left arm, right arm. Uh, and the target DNA is also treated with the almost like similar restriction enzyme or the enzyme which gives the or which forms the compatible end, so that it would be able to get ligated with the two arms of the bacteriophage. Once the recombinant DNA is produced, then it has to be packaged in vitro conditions, for which packaging extract is required, and that packaging extract is produced by two different mutant strains, so that the surplus amount of packaging proteins will be available. Once they are packaged into intact virus particles, they are allowed to infect the natural E. coli cells, and these infected cells will be plated on a cell which is pre-spread with the uninfected cell, and that would have grown as a continuous lawn. Single uninfected cell will be formed as a clear zone or plaque. This clear zone or plaques are formed because of repeated cycles of lysis and reinfection. That's why you see the clear areas. So the recombinant DNA can be isolated and purified, and it can be used for further analysis straightly by picking up the clear areas or plaques, or you can also isolate it from the broth of the medium in which the culture is infected with this uh, phage particles picked up from the plaques. So like that, the lytic phase of the bacteriophages are the one example what we discussed was bacteriophage lambda in the form of lambda replacement vectors. These bacteriophage genomes are used for DNA cloning. In addition to the lambda replacement vectors, as we discussed that this phage lambda can also undergo the lysogenic phase of life cycle. Even this lysogenic phase of bacteriophage can be utilized in DNA cloning technology. So we will discuss first about how this lambda lysogeny can be used in DNA cloning, and then we will also discuss about other bacteriophage vectors. Those are M13 phage vectors, which are very important. Let's move on. Yes, lambda lysogens. As I mentioned, the lysogenic phase of the lambda infection is also used in cloning technology. So here, when we use this lambda lysogenic property for cloning, the genes are the foreign sequence that can be incorporated permanently into the genome of the host organism. You all know what is lysogeny or lysogenic property. Once the DNA is injected into the host cell, that DNA gets integrated into the host genome. So here, along with the vector DNA, the DNA which is incorporated that gets permanently integrated into the host genome, uh, of a vector containing the sequence of interest. It means the same. So along with the vector containing your sequence of interest that gets integrated with the host genome. So one example where this lambda lysogenic property is used is the special E. coli strain which is used for the overexpression of proteins by the T7 method. I hope you remember when we discussed about expression vectors for prokaryotes, then there I said that we need to use the host organism which is a specialized E. coli strain. Specialized E. coli strain in the sense it should be a mutant which is capable of producing the T7 RNA polymerase. So that specialized mutant has been produced by using the lambda lysogen. So here what happens, the strain name is BL21 and it is also designated as DE3. So the strain BL21 and its derivatives, how they are mutated, they include the gene for T7 RNA polymerase. That means you take the Phage lambda genome as vector and incorporate the gene that encodes the protein T7 RNA polymerase, and that is put under the control of LAC promoter, and it is put with the genes that are required for the lysogenic phase of the bacteriophage, and it is designated as TE3. Okay, so the gene can be induced by IPTG. Since it is under the control of lactose promoter, it can be induced by IPTG. When it is induced by IPTG, this gene, it will be encoded. The encoded protein is nothing but T7 RNA polymerase. When this T7 RNA polymerase is produced by this strain PL21, that transcribes the target gene in the expression vector. You all remember that expression vector, T7 expression vector, which consists of the promoter for T7 RNA polymerase. Right? Once that protein is encoded, then that will cause the overexpression of the gene of interest. So here the point of discussion is how this mutant strain is produced. This mutant strain is produced by using the lysogenic phase of the Bacteriophage lambda. So how the E. coli strain is infected with the lambda lysogenic vector containing the gene for T7 RNA polymerase. So when it infects, that gets integrated with the E. coli genome, and that is capable of producing T7 RNA polymerase. So you have to use that mutant strain which is capable of producing this T7 RNA polymerase in order to use the expression vectors, like where the gene which is meant to be expressed will be under control of T7 RNA polymerase. Don't get confused. Here two things we are discussing. The lambda lysogenic property is utilized in order to produce this specialized strain where the lysogenic DNA gets integrated with the host genome and it is capable of producing T7 RNA polymerase. So here how it is mutant, being E. coli, it is capable of producing T7 RNA polymerase, and such mutants can be used as host organism in order to use the expression vector to express your gene of interest. So to express that gene of interest, you need T7 RNA polymerase. So the T7 RNA polymerase will transcribe the target gene present in the expression vector. I hope you guys are able to follow the class. So that is about lambda lysogenic property that can be used in DNA cloning technology, especially to produce the mutant strains which are capable of producing T7 RNA polymerase, so that they can be used as host organism when we go for the expression of proteins using expression vectors. The next type of vectors or bacteriophage vectors are M13 phage vectors. As you all know, M13 is another bacteriophage. It is filamentous phage. It is also the vector which uses E. coli as the host organism. These phage particles, M13 phage particles, they contain about 6.7 kb circular single-stranded DNA. After they infect the host organism, the sensitive E. coli, the complementary strand is synthesized. I'm sure you are not new about this bacteriophage M13. The type of DNA which is present in this phage is circular single-stranded DNA. But once it infects the host organism, there it is converted into circular double-stranded DNA. That means the complementary strand is synthesized in the host organism. And in the host organism, it is replicated as double-stranded circle, and the double-stranded circular form of DNA is called replicative form, and for about 100 copies per cell will be present in the host organism. In contrast to the situation with phage lambda, here when these bacteriophages are grown in the host cell, the cells are not lysed by M13, but they continue to grow slowly. So here the lysis does not take place as we see in case of phage lambda. but cells, so since the lysis does not take place, the cells are not lysed, but they continue to grow slowly. Next, the single stranded forms are once the enough replication of the DNA takes place in the host organism, then the single stranded forms are continuously packaged and they released from the cells as the new phage particles. Please make note of it. Here the cell lysis does not take place. They grow very, the cell growth will be very, very slow, and once the sufficient number of single stranded forms of the DNA are formed, then they will be packaged into virus particle. Always virus particle will have the single stranded circular DNA and they will be released from the cell without the cell lysis. Always the same single strand of the complementary DNA strand is present in the phage particle. And here the useful properties of M13 as a vector are, it will have the single stranded circular form of the DNA in the phage particle, and it will also have the replicative form. So when you want to do any manipulation to the DNA, you can isolate the replicative form of this M13 phage DNA and it can be purified, and any manipulations that needs to be carried out or any changes you want to do to the DNA, that all can be done by applying the standard plasmid methods. Why the standard plasmid methods? Because the replicative form is the circular double-stranded DNA which is similar to plasmid. So, if you want to do any manipulation to the DNA, you can isolate the DNA in the replicative form, that means in the double-stranded form, and apply all the changes by using the standard plasmid methods, which are easy methods. But the same DNA can be isolated in the single stranded form. After all the manipulations are done, the same changes can be retrieved in the form of single stranded DNA from the phage particles in the medium. Why we have to isolate the single stranded form of the DNA? There are many applications that can be done with single stranded circular DNA, including those applications include DNA sequencing and site directed mutagenesis. I hope you guys are able to follow. These M13 bacteriophages are filamentous phages and they infect the organism E. coli. And the phage particles contain single stranded circular DNA. But when the virus infects the bacterium, the complementary strand is synthesized and it gets replicated in the double stranded form, which is the replicative form. But after the sufficient number of these replicative forms are formed, again the phage particles will be packaged with the single stranded DNA. Always the virus will have the single stranded circular DNA. One advantage of using this M13 bacteriophage as vector is that you can isolate the replicative form of DNA in its double stranded form, and you can do any manipulation changes by using the standard plasmid methods, and the same DNA can be isolated in the single stranded form from the phage, which has got several applications like DNA sequencing and site directed mutagenesis. So here in these vectors, blue-white selection using multiple cloning sites and LAC-Z gene has also been engineered into M13 vectors. So the properties that enable blue-white selection like multiple cloning site and LAC-Z gene had also been engineered into M13 vectors. Two such examples are given, M13MP18 and M13MP19. These two are related pair of vectors in which how this pairs are, how this pair of vectors are related to each other. They contain multiple cloning sites in opposite orientations relative to the M13 origin of replication. Obviously, the vector should have origin of replication. So there are a pair of vectors available, M13MP18 and M13MP19. These are a pair of related vectors which contain their multiple cloning sites in opposite orientation. Suppose in one position the MCS is present in 18, the opposite orientation, the 19 will have the MCS. So They contain the MCS in opposite orientations relative to the M13 origin of replication. And this origin defines the strand which is to be packaged into the phage. I hope you guys are following that the replicative form of the DNA has double-stranded circular DNA, but always the virus particle contains single-stranded circular DNA. So the origin of replication defines the strand which is packaged into the phage. So any of these two vectors, either vector may be used depending on which strand of the insert is required to be produced in the phage particle. Whichever the strand you want it to be packaged into the virus particle, accordingly you can choose the vector. So any one of these vectors can be used depending on which strand of the insert is required to be produced in the phage particle. So coming to the cloning in M13 bacteriophage vectors. Generally, this M13 bacteriophage vector, it is not used as a primary vector to clone the new DNA fragments, but generally the fragments are subcloned into M13 replicative form using standard plasmid methods, because these methods are very established and easy. That is why whatever the incorporation of the fragment DNA or foreign DNA you want to put in this vector, you take the replicative form of this vector or the M13 DNA, and then using the standard plasmid methods, you incorporate your target DNA. And especially one will go for this M13 phage vectors when you want that DNA in the single stranded form. In that case, you choose this M13 phage vector, take the replicative form of it, insert your fragment DNA and then put it back, and when it becomes in the single stranded form, you isolate and use for the further usage. So especially it is used when the single stranded form of fragment is required, and then transfection of E. coli cells with the recombinant DNA. How the recombinant DNA is produced, that is very similar. However, we produce the recombinant molecules using the plasmid vectors because we are using the replicative form of DNA. Transfection of E. coli cells with the recombinant DNA is done, followed by plating on a lawn of cells, similar to the plating however we have done in case of lambda replacement vectors. After transfection of E. coli cells, you spread these cells on a plate which is already pre-spread with a high concentration of uninfected cells, which is grown as a continuous lawn. And here also these infected cells will produce plaques, as we have seen in case of lambda infection. But here in this case of bacteriophage M13, the plaques are formed by the slow growth rather than the lysis. I have told in the beginning itself, here the cell lysis does not take place, but the cell growth is very, very slow in case of the infected cells. So the plaques are formed. Then later analysis will be same. The plaques can be picked up and then you can isolate your recombinant DNA, or it can be used to infect the broth of culture. When you use this broth of culture, the supernatant of the medium will contain your recombinant DNA, because the virus will be present in the supernatant broth of the culture. So that way also you would be able to isolate the recombinant DNA that can be used for further analysis. So that is all about M13 phage vectors. What did we discuss? We discussed about its life cycle briefly. Filamentous phage, it contains single-stranded circular DNA, but the replicative form is double-stranded. The complementary strand is synthesized in the host organism. So here, after the enough amount of DNA is replicated, again continuously, the phage will be packaged into virus particle with the single strand circular DNA, and the phage particles are released from the cells. Here the cell lysis does not take place, but the cell growth is very slow because of infection. How this bacteriophage, M13 bacteriophage is used in cloning? Examples are given with opposite orientation of MCS. Any one can be used depending upon which strand of DNA needs to be packaged into the virus particle. And at the end, I also discussed that generally these M13 phage vectors are used for subcloning, and the replicative form will be taken, and then target of DNA will be incorporated using the standard plasmid methods. And generally one will go for M13 Phage vectors when you require the DNA in single stranded form for applications like site directed mutagenesis or DNA sequencing. Right. So once the recombinant molecules are produced, then you can infect the E. coli cells and you can spread them on a plate that has already continuous lawn, and this infected cells will be formed as plaques because of the slow growth of the infected cells, and from there you can pick up the recombinant DNA and do the further analysis. Hope this is clear for you. Then we also have another variation like hybrid plasmid M13 vectors. This hybrid, as the name suggests, these hybrid plasmid M13 vectors will have the properties of plasmid as well as M13 vectors. There are number of small plasmid vectors. One example of such hybrid plasmid M13 vectors are P blue script. They have been developed. These are true plasmids, but they've been developed to incorporate the M13 functionality also. So that means they contain both plasmid as well as M13 origins of replication. But they do not possess the all the genes that are required for the full phage life cycle. Since they do not contain all the genes required for full phage life cycle, they normally propagate as true plasmids. This hybrid plasmid M13 vectors, they propagate as true plasmids because they have only the origin of replication, not all the genes required for full phage life cycle. So they propagate as true plasmids, but since they propagate as true plasmids, they have the advantages of rapid growth and easy manipulation of plasmid vectors. But whenever required, these hybrid plasmid M13 vectors can be induced to produce single-stranded phage particles. How will you produce single-stranded phage particles? This can be achieved by co-infection with a fully functional helper phage. This helper phage, which is co-infected, that will provide the gene products, that means all the proteins that are required for single-strand DNA production and packaging. So just to summarize once again about these hybrid plasmid M13 vectors, these are the small plasmid vectors. The example of one such hybrid plasmid M13 vectors are P blue script. They've been developed to incorporate M13 functionality also, and they contain both the plasmid and M13 origin of replication, but they do not possess all the genes that are required for full phage life cycle. So these vectors, they propagate as true plasmids. So they will have the advantage of rapid growth and easy manipulation of plasmid vectors. But whenever required, they can be induced to produce single-stranded phage particles by co-infecting with fully functional helper phage. This helper phage would provide the proteins which are required for single-stranded DNA production and packaging. So these are the properties and uses of hybrid plasmid M13 vectors. This is all I wanted to discuss in this class. The references are same, Walden, Primrose and Turner. In this class, what did we discuss? We discussed about how the lambda lysogens can be used in DNA cloning, especially to produce the mutant strains which are capable of producing the enzymes like T7 RNA polymerase. Such specialized mutant strains can be used for expressing the proteins using the expression vectors. Then we discussed about M13 bacteriophages, which is a single-stranded DNA containing virus. Its replicative form DNA is double-stranded. So this can be used majorly when there is subcloning, and if you want to have the DNA in single-stranded form, in that case one will use for M13 bacteriophage vectors. At the end, we also discussed about hybrid plasmid and M13 vectors with the examples we discussed. Thank you.